Hey, what's up? Hope everybody out there is doing great. If you're watching this, thank you for watching. I appreciate your viewership. Today I'm just talking about some old work knives I had. I'll admit right now I'm a Cold Steel fanboy, or man, I don't really want to call myself a boy, but yeah, I'm a big fan of Cold Steel. Straight up, I'm biased. But before I discovered Cold Steel, or I should say rediscovered, I had these knives at work. And I just wanted to touch on these real quick because they did serve me okay. They served me well. But I eventually figured out that I just needed something a little more. So, really quick, my first experience with blades goes back to when I was a small child. I stole a razor somehow or another. I guess my mom wasn't paying attention to me or something, but I got a hold of a razor and I wanted to cut my dog's leash so that we could take the dog for a walk, me and my sisters. So my first experience with blades was with the razor, and I put it in my little plaid pants pocket and forgot about it. And later on, I put my hand in my pocket and sliced my fingers up, and my mom was completely horrified. All this blood coming out of my fingers. It was pretty funny. So a little bit later on, uh, at some point in my garage in the house that I grew up in, I came across a buck knife and a U.S. Army knife. I don't have those here with me now, but obviously, but the classic buck knife that everybody has, and a lot of people's father have. I found that in a toolbox. I was like, holy crap, this is cool. And I remember he found out that I found it and he took it away, but he eventually gave me a U.S. Army knife. It was a silver one. It's a very popular model. I'm sure most people who were watching this know what I'm talking about. It had a blade. It had some kind of like a can opener. I don't really remember very well, but when I had those knives, it was like totally awesome. I really loved them. I loved the feel of having a weapon in my hand, even though I was very young at the time. So fast forward a couple of years, my father is a police officer, and at some point he basically took knives off of people all the time, and I found a butterfly knife in another one of his toolboxes, and he was like, you know what? Here you go ahead. You can have this butterfly knife. It had orange handles. He said, do not take it outside. First thing I did was take it outside. I got it taken away within the first 10 minutes I had it. Totally sucked. But I just had this fascination with blades. So eventually, I'm sorry, I keep saying so. Eventually, I got a job in the sheet metal shop. I got a pretty decent Gerber knife. I couldn't tell you which one it was, I don't remember. But that was the first decent brand knife I ever had. Had that for a couple of years. At that job, my brother in law gave me this Leatherman. Obviously, the the knives broke. I used to cut ductwork with this. One small little motion to the side, and that sucker just snapped off. And I eventually started using, that was the serrated edge, I think. I eventually started using the straight edge. Same thing. I was trying to cut something, I accidentally went sideways a little bit, snapped right off. Didn't really even put that much pressure. I was completely shocked that these blades broke. But yeah, this Leatherman tool has served me well, and the blades were okay. They were sharp. They did what they needed to do, but they broke. So a couple of years later, got another job. I got this as like a Christmas gift or something like that. This is a Coast knife. These are available in AutoZone. It was okay. I really loved the shape of this blade. It was, let me take that back. At the time when I first got this blade, I was like, wow, that blade shape is awesome. I think that's called a Tanto or something like that. I kind of had an idea of what it was called, but it has a straight edge and it has these little serrations right here. This knife was cool. I mean, it feels like I can break this in half with my hands. Period. But at the time, before what's the model there? I don't know if it's focusing on that, but it's an LX248 or whatever. Uh, this knife was cool. Liner lock, deep carry, pocket clip, tip down. It did okay. It was okay, but it wasn't great. And that's unfortunate because I really like the shape of this blade. It's not long enough. It's good enough to do quick little cuts, but yeah, I was a big fan of this straight edge, and then the 50/50 serration and then straight edge blade. It doesn't work out as good as I would like in real life. I like the looks of it more than it actually performs. Well, I used this for a while, and it was okay. Has a little lanyard hole. There's a flipper, I guess, if you can make it do that. I never tried any of that. I would just flick it out with the little thumb studs. My daughter gave me this one. This is a Buck Inertia, something like that. This knife, I really, really love this knife. It's not worth much, but the sentimental value is through the roof. Reference there. Has a deep carry pocket clip, and it was an assisted open. It used to flick right open, and at some point I got some grit in it, and I'm not about to take this thing apart because I didn't know anything about knives at the time. I've had this for a few years. I was too scared to take it apart, and by the time I figured out that I could probably fix it, I had already moved on to cold steel. And as you can see, I do not have the sharpening skills. I think there's probably about 1/8 of an inch of material gone from this blade due to my lack of sharpening skills. It didn't always look like this. So I've definitely taken a lot of material off this blade. It had more of a curve to it. Kind of looked like a great white shark or something. But this thing was okay. I would sharpen it on sandcloth or sandpaper, whatever you want to call it, and it would get really, really sharp. And then at some point, I bought a very cheap sharpener at Harbor Freight, and I would practice on this. And as you can see, I'm terrible at it because I wore down the blade a lot. And another thing about this knife that's just not so great, it would not stay sharp at all. I cut a lot of cardboard, but in addition to that, I cut duckboard, I cut rope sometimes, I cut string, I cut a lot of different materials at work, and this thing just got dull really fast. And I'm not saying I'm a great sharpener. That's another video I'm going to make about how I do not know how to sharpen, but I'm going to try. I ruined this blade. Yet when I did get it sharp, it would go dull like really fast. It would go dull in about 2 or 3 days. And I don't mean dull like it was a little bit of tough. I mean it wouldn't cut anything. So this Buck Inertia, I liked it a lot, but I had to move on. It just kept getting dull too fast. So yeah, that Buck Inertia and this Coast Tanto / spear point or drop point with the 50/50 blade, these were the work knives that I used for the better part of about 7-8 years. And this one is very, very old. I use the pliers a lot and sometimes the other tools, but the blades broke off relatively easy. I was cutting, like I said, I was cutting ductwork and I barely went to the side on accident and it just snapped right off, and I was like, all right, well, it wasn't intended for that, so whatever. But that's just the background to these knives, and I just thought I would just give these a shout out because they served me okay when I was using them. Buck Inertia and Coast, whatever this is, LX248, and the Leatherman Wave. And I still use this. I keep this in my bathroom. I use the pliers all the time. I use the other things, the scissors, all the time. I love this tool. Multi-tools are great. For the blades, maybe not so much. But yeah, so I just want to give a little background. I love knives. I've always carried knives my entire life, whether it's for self-defense or for work or whatever. And I just thought I would touch upon that subject since I'm doing knife videos now. I keep saying real quick. When I was looking to replace this blade, I got distracted because of my short attention span, and I started thinking, hey, I wonder if anybody makes knives. And that got me into searching for swords. And I said knives, I meant swords. Does anybody make swords? That's what got me into looking at cold steel knives, because I started thinking, hey, I'm gonna get a new knife. And I started looking at all the Civivi and WE, and I think they're the same company. I just started looking at different knives, different companies. I even looked at this brand, Coast. And I was like, I need to upgrade my knives and get something that's awesome. But I always do have that. I'm a martial artist, and I do like for my knives to be applicable to self-defense. I don't think, if you stab somebody with this, it'll probably hurt. But if you pull this out in a self-defense situation, you're probably not going to have the problem anymore. If somebody's attacking me and I pull this out and they're like, my blade's bigger than yours, if I pull this out, they're going to be like, holy crap. If I pull this out, if I get attacked or something, that's going to make them think twice. Obviously, not including a gun. I know guns are different, but as far as bladed weapons go, these do not fit the bill for what I'm looking for in an everyday carry. I want to be able to know that I can defend myself. And you have to get really close to somebody to use this. I guess there's only an 1.5 inch difference, maybe. Let me see here. Look at that. Yeah, I'm gonna take my Voyager Vaquero serrated all day long compared to this. And even in work, it does make a difference. I cut a lot of cardboard boxes with this. The edge just goes so quick. You go down the side of a cardboard box, you do that 4 times, the blade's already gone. This takes it all day long. I haven't even sharpened it. Let me see. I used this for a video for cutting cardboard boxes, and I cut several more cardboard boxes the days afterwards. Have not sharpened it. I don't own a strop yet, so this is after cutting about 8 huge cardboard boxes. Let me see. Look at that. Look at that. That is crazy. I didn't even know I was going to do that. Yeah, there's no comparison. It's so much more blade than this. Obviously, I haven't sharpened this in a while, but yeah. Well, so I just wanted to touch on that, bringing me to the point of why I love cold steel knives. So much more blade, and it doesn't take up that much more space in your pocket, and you can use it for a weapon. I did forget to mention, though, how slimline these knives are. They were very convenient. They did not take up too much space in my pocket, so that was definitely a plus, a positive. They're very slim. This one feels good. Like I said, it's not up to the task of the heavy duty things that I sometimes think I do at work. It didn't break or anything, but it's because I've never really pushed it too far. But they did feel very comfortable in the pocket. This one especially. This one was just that deep carry. It goes all the way to the edge there. So I did enjoy carrying these. They feel good. I just need a little something more, but they did do the job almost all the time, and they felt good in the pocket. They're slim. Not this one. This is a big bulky piece of metal. It twists. It makes a bunch of noise when you walk around. It rattles. You probably need a leather sheath for this. So not this one. This was not convenient at all. It's very, very useful, but you should get a sheath for something like this. These were very convenient to carry around. They were slimline. But then again, so is this. Big, yes. Bulky, depends on who you talk to and how tight your pants are. Yeah. And just for mention, when I did eventually move up to cold steel knives, I got my Recon 1 from a gun store. I love cold steel knives. When I first discovered, or rediscovered, I should say rediscovered, because a long time ago I saw an ad in a martial arts magazine, and I was like, wow, that company makes, you know, fixed blades that look like swords, but I had no idea about knives or anything like that at the time. I just carried the blade that I carried with me, probably some stuff from a flea market or something, and I forgot about them. I was not a weapons person. I'm in Texas. Usually it's just a gun or nothing, you know. I didn't know there was an in-between space. The reason I carried a knife is like kind of a just-in-case scenario. I never really intended on using it as a weapon. It's just more of a emergency. Then I started looking at different knife companies and rediscovered Cold Steel and saw their awesome weapons / work knives, and that's what brought me to this video. I just wanted to share my experience. But this was my first Cold Steel Recon 1 Mini, the mid-size, 3.5 inch blade or something like that. So yeah, this blade took the place of my old work knives, and it's much more solid, feels great, easy to sharpen. I managed to use that cheap sharpener that I got from Harbor Freight, very careful with it, and I managed to, it takes a great edge. It's not super sharp now because I cut a couple of pieces of cardboard, but more than a couple, but it definitely holds a better edge than these knives. Sorry to say, I'm sure buck knives, other models probably the edge lasts a lot longer, but the steel on this it was not good. I mean, look how many times I had to sharpen it, and I'm sure I didn't do that right, but still, I mean, it would go dull, like I said, after 3, maybe 4 days max. It was just completely unusable, and I'd have to borrow somebody else's knife for a box cutter, and I am just not going to do that again. Not when I can get these awesome knives. I used this one to pry 3 nails the day before yesterday. I just went in there. Well, I can, what's going to happen if I do that with this? It's probably going to bend it or chip it or something. I understand it's not meant to do that, but I didn't have a hammer. So, all right, well, just wanted to give a little shout out to my old knives. Little honorary mention: Coast, Buck, and the Leatherman Wave. But I also wanted to say thank you, Cold Steel, for making these awesome blades that you make. Yeah, so let me know what you think. Leave a comment, good or bad, doesn't matter. Got any thoughts on these knives? Let me know. Thank you.